in the hypnosis industry, there is, especially the last 20 years or so, this is something that came out of Erickson's works primarily, this idea that the best way to do hypnosis is to confuse the hell out of people because then they have no critical factor and you can go straight into their mind and cool stuff happens, right? And there is a lot of truth to that. However, I've come to realize that it's actually not the confusion element that's interesting. In other words, people go after confusion thinking that they've got some powerful trance that allows them to do other things, right? And there is truth to that. I don't want to knock that as an approach. There's a lot of value to it. The problem is people end up going out and start behaving literally like they're on drugs, like weirdos, coming up with all kinds of confusing statements like, when wasn't the time now, yesterday, that tomorrow's future wasn't happening right now, hey? And people are certainly confused, and they also kind of shy away slightly, and then they lock the door, and then they call the police, right? So in terms of, first of all, a lot of doing stuff covertly, in other words, you don't get caught, that's not the best of things to do, is it? In terms of being influential, again, how much influence do you have when someone's busy trying to figure out how to run away from you, even if they have to chew their own arm off and leave it behind? It'll be a fair trade, right? Not the most influential moment in your life, is it? And I believe the reason for it is because, and I know this because I did it myself, believe me, I've got a collection of arms in my cupboard that people have left behind trying to get away from me. And the reason is because, what did I go after? I went after confusion. I tried to confuse the hell out of people, succeeded fantastically, and failed in my end purpose, which is to influence. Does that make sense? So what if we look at the whole equation differently? What if the confusion was not the cause of the influence, the opening of the doorway to influence? What if it was a side effect? I mean, consider this. Do you recognize this? It's kind of like the night sky, isn't it? In reverse. Do you like my art? So consider, like, you know, the night sky is an analogy. You're space travelers, like, you know, Star Trek to boldly go where no one's gone before, right? So here is where everyone goes. That's what everyone knows. This is day-to-day reality. This is what we believe in, what we do. And everyone will have a slight variation of this. That's called consensual reality, isn't it? Right? Now, depending on where your personal weirdness is, and we all have it, of course, you know, you might be a little bit more up here, a little bit down there. You might have a slightly expanded version or a more constructive version. But essentially, this is kind of where we live, isn't it? Now, when you do have a slightly unusual experience, you go somewhere other than where you are normally going. So it makes sense that if you go somewhere which is so alien to where you've been before, that you can't make sense of it. So the purpose of what we're looking for is to get people out of their habitual way of thinking, their way of being stuck and saying, this is the only thing that's possible. I mean, by the way, has anyone ever given someone advice and had it like thrown right back in their face again? Right? It's pretty common, isn't it? Why do you think they throw it back? Because it doesn't fit in here. Your advice is about something on the periphery out here, and they just don't know where to put it. So of course, what do? They go, oh, rejection. It doesn't fit in my little universe, therefore it can't exist. Does that kind of make sense? So as far as I'm concerned, the key to influence isn't trying to force something into this. It's to create an opening to let more stuff in.